So this week we're talking about research um, methods, methodologies, and research platforms for legal research. Um, the one that you got via Calhoun is called Lexis, and it is um, one of the very best because of what it contains, what its ability um, to search very quickly. It has it's updated very, very regularly, and it just has a lot of functionality that makes it one of the best. The um, other main competitor it has is Westlaw, and these companies, Westlaw and Lexis, they're the the two that are the preference of most lawyers to work with. When I went to law school, Westlaw was sort of in its infancy, but it was provided to us free, and you get hooked on this very good um, research platform. Then um, the courts have used Lexis in Alabama for a long time, and has been provided free to the county law libraries and so forth. And so I've become more familiar with Lexis since law school. There are a number of other providers like CaseMaker, CaseText, FastCase, um, and then there's an outlier called Google Scholar, and I'm going to talk about it in just a little bit. That I find it to be a surprisingly good um, resource, despite the fact that it is part of is not exclusively a legal research platform. That is Google Scholar. So let's just think about Lexis for a minute. You have a student account, and I hope that by this time you're familiar with it. You certainly can search case law and statutory law, the Code of Alabama, for instance, the Code of Federal Regulations, the United States Code, um, the Administrative Code for Alabama. You have all the rules of court, such as rules of criminal procedure, civil procedure, administrative procedure, and the rules of evidence, both state and federal. They're all there and searchable. The thing that uh, I believe is it sort of sets Lexis apart and Westlaw too. Although I don't have a Westlaw account, can't verify this, but there are very good secondary sources available in Lexis. And by that I mean treatises um, such as the Alabama Tort Law Handbook, the Alabama, um, there's a very good family law treatise available in through your subscription also, a workers' compensation resource. There's a rules of evidence annotated, or I think of annotated so much as a treatise on the rules of evidence, where each rule is explained in detail, examples given, sample objections. Um, so those are available. Law reviews, a great deal of law review resources. Um, the Whereas the case maker that's available for free through the state bar has very limited um, law reviews. Um, Lexis, for instance, has virtually all of them, and the practice area manuals like Moore's Federal Practice, all these other things that essentially have done the research for you. These are um, the American Law Review articles, the the various other kinds of treatises that are out there, like Proof of Facts or Amjur. Some of this is really not going to be familiar to you, but once you become acquainted with doing online legal research, you'll find these resources that are there that are very useful in that you're not doing the primary legal research from the ground up. You've got articles that have been written, law review articles, or practice resources like, for instance, the Alabama Tort Law Handbook, or just areas of the law, certain kinds of digests and practice manuals that are available. So there's a much broader range of resources in Lexis or Westlaw. The trick is they're both expensive, whereas the free option that you get through the state bar doesn't have the bells and whistles, so to speak. Another thing that that Lexis and Westlaw has is the ability to do what's called shepherdizing. I assume that you have done that by now in your legal research and writing class, but shepherdizing is now done automatically by clicking a certain button on Westlaw or Lexis, and it will tell you where a case has been cited, whether a case has been overruled, or there's been a discussion questioning the validity of the holding in a case, or where a case has been followed consistently, but you can see whether it's still valid legal authority. Some of these other sites don't have that. And so I didn't talk about this at first as much, but I've found that Google Scholar is a very powerful tool. If you go to Google Scholar, you can see that this is the same Google that we all know and love, but Google Scholar is a certain app or whatever that's within the Google tools. So actually find Google Scholar, make sure we're talking about the right thing. And you'll see that it has, when the search page comes up on Google Scholar, you'll have articles and case law. And if you click case law, you can select the courts that you're looking at. Mine happens to show Alabama courts and federal courts, but if you'll click the select courts, you'll see the wide variety of courts that you can pick from, and so you're able to narrow your searches in that way. But Google Scholar has a very good search and engine or algorithm, however you want to say it, that will take you to results sometimes that are better than some of the results I get with Lexis. Very surprising. Don't neglect that free resource. Now, let me say a word about the article that, well, before I do that, let me talk about Boolean searches, Boolean. And there's information about this in this week's module. Increasingly, the legal research databases have what are called natural language searches. You put the words in, and the research algorithm will do the work for you, so to speak. Sometimes it'll return good results based on the power and intuitiveness of the algorithm that takes the search terms and puts them into the search process. There are ways to narrow research by using what are called the Boolean search terms. Don't know the derivation of that name, but it is a series of words and connectors that I have chosen to present the material by means of a table that shows how you use these connectors. If you want to find words together in a document, you use AND. If you want to find one word or the other in a document, you use the connector OR. There are ways to find words in proximity to another word within a certain number of words, or the same paragraph, or the same sentence. There are ways to search such that you can put a portion of a word, a trunk of a word, so to speak, with a wildcard searcher on the end, and that will give you the plural of that word. It'll give you other words, like if you put child and a exclamation point at the end of the word child, it'll give you children, it will give you childhood, it will give you all these various other derivations of that word that you might want to find in various forms in a document. And by just putting, say, for instance, the word child, you would not get search results that included children. But anyway, I'm leaving it to you to look at that table and see about these searches and connectors, and learn that there'll be a little assignment that helps you put the ideas together with some search terms. And sometimes reverting back to those connectors will help you get narrower results. One of the problems with online research is that it will bring you a horde of things that you have to wade through. And the goal is to be able, instead of getting 1,000 results, to maybe get 50 results to look at. And you do that sometimes by using these Boolean searches that will limit what you get to wade through. The article that I've included this week, I think the name of it is your results may vary. Talks about a particular phenomenon that if you put the same search words in the Westlaw, Lexis, Revell Law, Google Scholar, Fastcase, whatever, you're likely to get different results. So bear in mind that this is not an automatic process whereby you would get the same results or similar results, and you just choose whichever legal research vendor you want, and they're all one and the same. Depending on how the search algorithms are put together by the computer scientists who are employed by these companies, you can get very different results. Surprising variation in, you use the same words in different search platforms and you get very different results. This article talks about that and how it happens, and how to work around it, and really argues for redundancy. If you're in a academic institution that can afford Westlaw and Lexis, maybe you ought to have both. Maybe you ought to have your paid subscription and then something like Google Scholar, which is free, so that you can get more reliable research by engaging these different search algorithms that the various companies have. If we were having a live class, we would go through this in a visual way. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury. So a lot of what you're going to do in acquainting yourself with Lexis It's just plowing into it, doing these research projects, doing these case briefs and so on. If you need help with this, please feel free to call me. Reach out via email or otherwise, and I'll do my best to answer questions and help you. But that's about all I have to say by way of introduction on legal research. If you get stuck on any of the assignments, please let me know. Thank you.